Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today I have a video that I know a lot of you guys wait for every month because we're here to talk about all of the new books, all of the new releases that are mostly horror coming out at you in July.
It's coffee time.
This month we have a total of 17 things, and as always I focus on books that are horror, no matter if it's middle grade, YA or adult, and also some thrillers sometimes. So before we jump to the list, if you're new here, if you love horror and books, please do consider subscribing, joining the coffee family, and also hit the notification bell before you leave. Also, if you've noticed in the background, I have something new that I picked up recently at a flea market. It is a gothic flea market, and there is this artist that she always comes and brings things that I absolutely love, and I always have to buy things from her. One of the things that I purchased was this beautiful thing here. It is like a 3D kind of image. You can see a puppet or a kid, if you may, and you can see some hands coming out of it, and I just absolutely loved it. I'm gonna give you a quick close-up so you can actually understand how freaking awesome this is, because I love it. And you can also hang it on the wall or display it just as a normal picture on your shelves. We have Master of Rods and Strings by Jason Mark Harris, and this is a novella, and all you have to know about this one is that we have here puppetry. And not just any type of puppetry, but we have obscure one, and it is about this guy that has always been jealous of her sister's puppetry skills and starts having nightmares after the sister is brutally murdered. So fun times. I love everything that has to do with puppets and horror, or toys and horror, so I'm really excited for this novella. Next we have another novella that sounds fantastic, and that is Tony's Tale by Dan Foley. And here we follow a 5-year-old called Tony, and she doesn't think it's weird that her dad is able to see ghosts even though she cannot see them herself, but also she thinks it's totally normal to have this friend that looks like a demon and that she calls Wolf. This sounds just so much like me. Like, I absolutely love everything about this premise, so definitely one that I want to check out. Moving on to The Island by Sarah Brooke. This is adult horror, and everything is about Death Island. This is an island that has been preparing to receive guests, and now it's ready for it. However, apparently there is a legend or some old story about a witch that used to live in the island, and I'm pretty sure that witch is not happy about all of this tourism, so something is definitely going to happen. I have not read this one myself, but I do love a good horror about islands, especially during summer season, so I might pick this one up. Then we have a gothic horror story based on the 19th century, and it's called When the Briars Sleep. This sounds, if you read the whole plot in Goodreads, sounds like your typical haunted house or spirit kind of ghost story, that classic gothic tale. We have Rose, and she starts to have the feeling that something is following her, that something is stalking her, and they also talk about going to a home, like a estate that they own, the family owns. So I'm thinking this is going to be your typical gothic horror, but I'm always a sucker for those. I never get scared with ghost stories, but I kind of cannot stop reading them. Then we have A Touch of Jen by Beth Morgan. This is fiction horror, and it just sounds so bizarre, so bonkers, that I really want to read this one. Also, it deals with social media, which is something that we don't see so much done in books, also not in movies so much. And it's about a couple that is completely obsessed with Jen, and they follow her on Instagram. They're obsessed with her pictures, and one day they actually run into her in real life, in the flesh, and Jen invites them to the Hamptons for a surfing trip. And I'm guessing that once they get there and they start to get to know Jen's friends, something's gonna go south really fast. Then we have a book that is really interesting to me because it is a movie that was supposed to be made in 2015, but something happened and the movie never really came to be. And now they have written a book about the experience, about the story, so I'm thinking this is going to be a non-fiction book about it. The title is quite long, so let me read that for you guys. It is The Screenplay for a Horror Film That Never Was by Mark E. Smith and Graham Duff. So really excited about this one. I love stories about movies, making movies, especially in this case. It's a movie that maybe was cursed, we will see, because it never happened and it was supposed to. So I'm always curious to see the story of how a movie actually came to be or didn't came to be at all. So this is definitely for me, maybe not for everybody, but definitely one that I would like to check out and find out more about this movie that never happened. We have then Dire Branches by Brian Feta Steele, and this has been pitched to mix Slavic folklore with cosmic horror. It already sounds fantastic. It sounds weird and I'm all for that. After a bad breakup, Skye and her friends decide to spend a weekend at a house in the Appalachian foothill, and it already sounds like your typical stories like The Rental. I don't know if you watched the movie, but it kind of gave me that vibe when I read the synopsis. And basically when they get there, the owner acts weird, then there's sounds and things that seem to be coming out of the woods. So this is probably going to be one of those typical stories, but I hope it has a twist and it's not too tropey. But as always, I'm still a sucker for this type of stories of a couple of friends go out into an isolated house in the woods and stuff happens. Moving on to The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This is a very expected book. It's also one of my most anticipated releases for 2021 and a book that I plan to order as soon as it comes out so that I can read it. However, I have heard from people that it was a disappointing read, but I've also heard from people that it's very different from all other Grady Hendrix books. So it could be that I either love it or I hate it. Now, after reading the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires last year, I was a little bit disappointed with that one. It was not 100% what I expected. So maybe this one, everybody dislikes it, but I like it. I don't know. I guess I'll figure it out, but I do like what the book is about, which is basically the title. We have a group of final girls that meet. Final girls is, you know, in horror movies, the last girl standing that ends up surviving the attack. So the final girls in real life meet in a support group. That sounds fun to me, but I'm a little bit skeptic. I'm going into this one with low expectations and we shall see. The Taking of Jake Livingstone by Ryan Douglas is also coming out, and this is a YA horror with LGBTQ plus representation, and I could not be more happy about this book. The cover looks fantastic. I'm super excited to check it out because there's not too many YA horror books that come out compared to the adult ones, so I'm super excited for this story. This has been pitched as Get Out meets Danielle Vega, who is a writer, YA horror writer, and it's supposed to be a book where probably not everybody makes it out alive. The only thing that I know about this book is that Jake is able to see ghosts, and why not? I know it's something that has been done 1,000 times before, but I'm always here for some supernatural horror, and if you're looking for a YA story to frighten you this summer, you might want to pick this one up. Then we have Immortelle by Catherine McCarthy, and this is the story of Eleanor, whose daughter is poisoned and appears dead, and she blames the priest. Also, Eleanor has some specific powers and she's able to find out, thanks to the supernatural side of things, what happened to her daughter. So exciting, this one, because, you know, I love when there's a murder and we have to figure out what happened, who poisoned this girl. So I love myself a good murder mystery. Moving on with a book by Chuck Wendig, and it's called The Book of Accidents, or as I like to call it, The Book of My Life.
Untitled, your sex tape.
This is supposed to be horror with a little bit of sci-fi in it, and it is about a couple that after having a kid decide to move back to their hometown, and when they get there, there's a lot of things from the past that start to come out, some mysteries, some dark sides. We know the drill, but I'm really excited about this one. The cover looks stunning, and this is one of the books that I might pick up in July to read them. The next one is Come With Me by Ronald Malphie, and this is another horror thriller. In this case, we have a guy who, after the death of his wife, is having trouble coping with it, and he starts to go through her stuff only to find out really deep dark secrets. I do have a copy of this one that I got from NetGalley, so I will be reading it in the month of July and let you know, guys, if it's worth to pick it up or if you can skip it. Then we have The Follower by Nicolas, and this one sounds fantastic. One of the pitches for this book is twin, so I'm really excited for this one. And we follow a twin brother that, after his brother's disappearance, he decides to go look for him, and everything is leading him, taking him to a mountain where there's supposed to be a cult. And I'm like, yes, 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 please. So this is another one that I really would like to pick up, because twins, a mountain with a cult, yes. Then we have The Halloween Moon by Joseph Fink. This is a middle grade fantasy thriller, so it's not per se horror, but you have noticed that Halloween, the word, is on the title, and this book sounds fantastic because we follow Esther, and she's obsessed with Halloween. She loves trick-or-treating, but her parents have told her that she is too old to go trick-or-treating. But of course, she ignores this and she goes trick-or-treating, just to find out that in her town there seems to be a really mysterious presence outside that night. So this just sounds fantastic. I might pick this one up for October month and read it. It's also middle grade, so for all of you guys that would like to start with some spooky thriller that it's not particularly horror, not too strong, without much blood or anything like that, this might be perfect. Then we have Rovers by Richard Lange, and this one was just, you know, put as an action when it comes to the categories on Goodreads, but it's also supernatural. If you read the synopsis, you realize that basically a rover is a vampire in this story. We follow two brothers that are rovers, creatures that lurk in the night that have to drink blood to survive, so what we all know as a vampire. But I'm wondering if this book is going to take a complete new take on the vampire myth, so I'm really excited for this one. It also takes place in 1976, and apparently the two brothers find out about this killer gang that has kidnapped the girl, and they go after them, something like that. So it sounds like an action thriller, action supernatural thriller with rovers, which sound like vampires to me. But yeah, I'm super intrigued about this one. Next is Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. This is a YA fantasy horror, and it's about this girl that lives in a very small town. Basically, they're very, very isolated. They rarely get any visitors at all. That's why she likes it. But apparently one day the person that supplies, or the people that supply them, you know, with food and things like that, don't show up, and they wonder if that creature or something that used to haunt the town is back, something like that. So it sounds really interesting to me. I'm trying to give you guys the synopsis of these books kind of vague, because I know some things are spoilers for people. If you would like to check the full synopsis, they're all on Goodreads, but I just want to give you a glimpse of what you can expect from this book without going too much into detail, because some of these synopses, as similar to movie trailers, might reveal a little bit too much. Lost Letters to a Lover's Carcass by Ronald J. Murray. So this is his second poetry book. This is horror poetry. I haven't read horror poetry in so long. I would really like to pick up some at some point, because it's short, it tends to be really strong. Cries to Kill the Corpse Flower was his first poetry book, and this is supposed to be a sequel, but I'm not really sure if you really have to read the first book to understand the second one, since it's poetry. So I'm thinking, you know, there's different stories. It's not just like a linear kind of story. But yeah, if you love horror poetry, you might want to check these two books out. Okay, you guys, so these were the 17 things that are coming out in July that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Let me know as always down below if there is any other book that is coming out in July that you are dying to get or that you think I will love and I didn't mention in this video. Let's talk about it in the comments. Thanks for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up to support the channel and hope to see you as always in our next coffee time. Bye!